May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are wisely tuned to May the Best Brand Win right here on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music business talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who goes to the Audio Engineering Society show in Los Angeles just to watch the freaky people. And a man that would be right at home at the Audio Engineering show is the man with me on the air today from Miramar Air Force Base, Top Gun himself, Mr. Paul B. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Looking forward to AES.
Yeah. I like the
You
deep.
like the freaky people?
I like the freaky people and the geeky tech stuff, man. It's cool to sit down there and say, well, what envelope filter did you use on that? You can answer those kind of questions with each other. It's fun.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, you guys are going up too?
We should be going up as well. It's kind of like a low-key version of NAMM without, drums and guitars and all the fun stuff, like just really geeky kind of electronics and techie stuff. You have to stuff where you actually have to know what you're doing.
I know, it's so true. It's such a cool. It's cool. It basically rotates between Los Angeles and New York, and I always try to get up there when it's in L.A. and it is tomorrow. So it's actually right now, and all throughout the entire weekend. Actually, it's gonna be great.
Cool,
fantastic.
Maybe.
Hey, if you guys have a question for me out there, you can always email me at scott@robertsoncom2ms.com. I will answer anything right here on the show. And you can always connect with me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/RobertsonCom or at Twitter at RobertsonCom. Just reach out and connect. I can entertain you, give you some tips, fun things like that. So today's show, episode 28, is all about branding. It's all about the branding. And, branding is really harder than ever here in the modern world of 2016. And the road to those great relationships that you are looking for is filled with peril. Well-meaning companies either don't connect deeply enough, or they make gigantic public mistakes, or they get hit with things right out of left field. Branding is far more than just graphic design and pretty colors. It's about your core emotion, your promises, your service, the essence, of your entire company. And in branding, everything counts. That's the name of this episode today. Everything counts. It's one of the key principles that I believe in when it comes to branding, and it's really, really important to understand it. If you're going to go out and start talking about branding, then you need to understand it. So today we're going to delve deep into that key principle of branding called everything counts, and we're going to see some real life examples of it, and we're going to look at who's winning and who's losing this week, in marketing communications. So, the first thing that we want to say, hang on one second. There we go. Just want to have to answer that so it's not bothering us, this whole thing. Let's talk about history. Branding, the term, basically was, at its essence, at the very beginning of when the term was used, what it comes from is a brand, a mark on cattle. And that's extremely useful, right? Because if I'm raising cattle and you're raising cattle and we're neighbors, then it's very likely that your cows are going to come over on my property and vice versa, right? So it's really, really important to mark your cattle, So you're like, hey, dude, that's my cow. And they're like, that's not your cow. And you're like, that is so my cow. And basically, the way that you know that is that you put this mark on the cow, right? That's the brand. And for a good long time, that was branding. In the Industrial Revolution, everybody started making a lot of the same products, and there was a great need to start distinguishing things. How could you tell, this product from the next, this mop from this other mop, these things? How could you tell these kind of things? And the idea of branding, started to extend through there. But it really got Branding really started taking shape from Procter & Gamble, as I've talked about on this show before, when they started introducing the concept of emotional transference, and they believed that they could make people feel human stuff about non-human stuff. And they were right. They were absolutely right. But so I give you that little history lesson just to tell you this. At one time, it was a graphic symbol, but that is not today. There are companies out there that call themselves branding companies, but really what they are is graphic design companies. And that's great. I love graphic designers. Some of my best friends, are graphic designers. But that is not branding. A logo by itself is not branding. And I think that people screw that up a lot. So say that to yourself a lot. Say that, the visuals are not just the brand. The brand is literally everything about the company in today's modern marketing thinking. Wasn't always the case. It is today, because we understand that to the consumer, to the inside of organizations, we're incredibly complex. Bob does this, Janie does this, Tim does this, yada, yada, yada. We have this incredibly complex structure. But to the world, we're just this thing that plays us whatever role in their lives that we are, right? And so that's why it's really important to be looking at things from their perspective and not yours, because otherwise your infinitely complex thing, doesn't need to be that complex to them. It's not going to be that complex to them. So that's really, really important. To me, in branding, messaging comes first. And messaging is expressed in words, not pictures. This is important to understand, because there are a lot of graphic design companies that need to learn this lesson. The message is the most important thing in a communications program. And sometimes graphic designers aren't the best writers. They're not the best wordsmiths. And therefore, they are the absolute wrong person to be working on the brand first. The right person is usually PR, a marketing person that can write, because your words, the idea, the emotions that we're trying to communicate, the words that we're trying to communicate kind of come first, and the visuals do support it, but the words kind of come first is a good rule to remember. So it's really, really important. And I know a lot of graphic designers that say, well, I just take the message from the client. Here's a shock for you. The client has no idea what their message should be, because they're not a communications professional, right? They're not a communications professional, typically. And what they're coming to you to do, look how many bad websites there are. Do you know why there's so many bad websites? Because website firms, when websites evolved, technically minded firms said, yes, we can build websites. But then when you have to build it, you have to have a message. And they take the message from who? The client. And the message is terrible. It's not thought out. It's not good. It doesn't resonate emotionally. It's not good. But the companies are executing correctly. The web company is executing correctly. It's just that they're not wordsmiths. They're not messengers. They're not that. They're able to make the thing technically work and visually look pretty and work in a lot of different ways. But they're not necessarily the best people to create the message. Really, really important piece. That's why we talk so much about the message on this show and those kind of things. But people misuse branding all the time, and they say that branding is your logo. Your logo on a squirt bottle. Your logo on a pair of sunglasses. Your logo on this, and that's not wrong. It absolutely is that, but that's not all it is. Your branding is everything. Everything counts, as we talk about in this episode. For example. Let's look at a diet. One of my favorite things to talk about is you ever have that person that's a friend that's dieting, they're trying to lose a little bit of weight, and they're on a diet, and you go out to dinner with them, and they say, yeah, I'm on a diet, but this piece of cheesecake's not going to count. I don't count it. And you're like, well, biologically speaking, it counts. It's calories, it's going in your body, it counts. No matter what you say, it does count. And people do the same thing in marketing. They'll spend, hundreds of millions of dollars on giant campaigns. And then, but they won't spend an equal amount of time on making sure the product, let's say doesn't explode. And see, that's a problem, right? Because it counts. Everything counts. And if you're not careful, you can, you can have kind of an extinction level event for your brand that's not related to your marketing in any way, shape, or form, right? Think about that diet example and make sure one of the reasons that branding is so tough, by the way, is that we do have to be responsible for absolutely everything. And somebody talking on a panel, and they said, oh, well, you're not responsible for absolutely everything. I'm like, yeah, you are. You literally are. And you're responsible for absolutely every time the company communicates and every single interaction across the entire company that it does. And it's a tough job, but that's the job. That is the job. We're going to talk a little bit about how we manage that, when it comes up a little later. So why did the thinking change? Why did we move from brands on cows, that, hey, dude, that's my cow, to, hey, that's my brand, and now I've got all these warm and fuzzy emotions, floating around in it, and all my interactions count, and it's this infinitely much harder job than just, burning a cow, right? So why did the thinking change? Because the world changed. The world is much different. The marketing profession has evolved, considerably, and it's really important that people get that. I had somebody this week tell me that they thought branding was graphic design, and as I said, I go, that's not wrong, but it's certainly not completely right. And you certainly, if you're in a position where you're responsible for the brand and you're laboring under the perception that it's graphic design, you are in for a really unpleasant surprise when other things go wrong. And the graphic design is peachy keen, man, colors looking good, PMS colors rocking, man, we're looking good. Oh, crap, our product just exploded. Well, welcome to real branding is what I would say. And get ready, because buckle up, because the roller coaster is going to get rough from here. Let's talk about touch points. The greatest brands in the world do a good job of getting control over, control's an illusion, I get it, but as much control as they can over their touch points anytime their brand touches a customer. Apple, let's take a look at Apple. Apple wasn't happy with the way that their products were being sold at retail. They said, and they said in a number of memos, they said, we are not confident in a lot of these smaller retailers' ability to convey our experience the way that we wish to convey it, the way that we want our brand experience to be. However, they sold their stuff as they're a manufacturer. They sold it to retailers to be sold at retail. So now you got a big problem, because the person that's responsible for the customer experience is no longer you. So Apple did what Apple does. And Apple said, well, we're going to create our own stores. And they're going to be different. They're going to be different than any other way that electronics have been sold previously. They're going to be bright. They're going to have lots of people there to answer questions. They're going to have the products displayed in a nice place. They're going to be clean. They're going to communicate everything about our brand. And our brand is about making people more powerful and feeding their ego in the sense that they already think they're more powerful. And sure you are, as long as you're using our stuff, kind of thing, right? We've talked about the Apple brand before and how it kind of passes that along. But Apple does such a masterful job of controlling its touch points. From a pure marketing side of things, in terms of distribution and supply chain, from the pricing, their advertising, conveys powerful emotion. Their public relations, their events, their packaging, all of these things are around brand. So why is that? Why is Apple so good at it? Well, the simple fact of the matter is that they are so good at it because Steve Jobs was that good at it. He was really, really good at branding. And his teachings live on inside that company's doctrine. Basically, the way that company runs is his way. And his way was the way, as it turns out. And while they've made some improvements along little improvements here and there and those kind of things, largely a lot of the vision is really still Steve's. Nike tries to do a lot of the same things. You know, Nike has a lot of the same problems that Apple has around that, but they try to control or manage as much as possible every single touch point. In the music products industry, we see some companies that try to do that as well. I think one of the brands that is a good, you know, online retailer of things. I mean, I believe that Reverb.com does a really good job of conveying its brand. You know, about and it's different. They are different and sort of uniquely themselves, and I think that that's pretty cool. And they try to. If you ever buy anything from Reverb.com, you can kind of see that play out. You can kind of see the way that where everything's kind of the same and gives you almost like there's one person doing it. But of course, it couldn't just be one person. So it's basically a set of rules that everybody's following together. One of my clients, Taylor Guitars, you know, obviously a very high quality acoustic guitar brand, and they try to make sure that every touch point with the Taylor brand is, you know, at that same level, right? They try to make sure that every single thing is at a very high level and really well done. And they're able to win this massive amount of loyalty, and people identify themselves and say, well, I'm a Taylor player. I'm a Taylor guy. You know, obviously Gibson and Fender, you know, do the same thing. You know, I'm a Fender man. You know, I'm a Fender. I'm a Taylor. You know, I'm a Gibson lady. You know, that kind of thing. About that high quality, I do want to talk real quickly about, you know, BMW has a fantastic brand. I actually own a BMW. I love it. They sent me something this week that is not good for the brand. They sent me this privacy notice, and it says, please, I can check a box and say, please do not share my personal or financial information with your affiliated companies or motor car retailers. Okay, that's great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Then I turn it over, and it says, place stamp here. You're going to send me a privacy notice. And you're going to make me put a stamp on your stupid-ass thing that is for privacy? Are you serious? You know, that's insane. Think it through. Marketing should be over there going, seriously, this should be postage paid. This should be an email. What are we doing? It annoys our customers. It takes a chip out of the wall that we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to build. I love that brand, but I'm looking at that going, really? You know, I'll give you a pass on this one, but don't you ever do that to me again. You know, it's really, really important. Everything counts in the brand. Everything counts. That's why everybody's going to be talking to each other, and that's why the job is so hard. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing this week in marketing communications on May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio. See you in a few minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
and Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the Intertalk Radio Network.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
SDP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all at...
It's all that!
SilverTigerProduction.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday. You are back with May the Best Brand Win right here on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And we are talking about branding and how everything counts. And with me on the air is a man that makes it count from Miramar, the worldwide headquarters of Intertalk Radio. Paul B., you there with me, Paul?
I'm here frantically looking for stamps. if my whole, all of my privacy depends on having, what are they, 42-cent stamp or not? That's
what I'm saying.
That's high stakes right there.
It is. It's just that's an annoyance, man. Hey, do you have any things like that where you're going along strong with the brand and then they just do something out of left field and you're like,
yeah.
And now I hate you. What is it?
Google does that to me all the time, where they'll have something that's super clever and works great, and then they'll decide to update it or whatever, and it doesn't work the same way anymore. They got rid of some feature that I loved, or the feature is completely hidden. That drives me nuts with them all the time.
It's so true. That's what makes branding so difficult. If you're really going to do it, it takes like a whole village of people working all the time, and stuff's going to go wrong. It's just going to happen. So that's what we're talking about on this show. But let's take a break here in segment 2 and talk about who's winning and losing, shall we? Let's talk about, first in the losing category, we've got Samsung. Man, Samsung. So if you haven't been following the Samsung saga, they've had a lot of problems with exploding phones. And exploding phones and sort of the collateral damage around the exploding phones. Now they have a problem with exploding washing machines. That came out from the Consumer Product Safety Commission this week. Unfortunately, that some of their washing machines have a tendency to explode too. Worse news is that they did a nationwide recall for the Samsung S7 Note, and then they gave some of the new phones out to people, and then some of the new phones were also exploding. So they haven't solved the problem. They're very much like Chipotle. Remember how Chipotle kept having food poisoning after food poisoning after food poisoning? And then they closed everything down. They had a company-wide meeting with all the employees, and they said, okay, let's not poison anybody with the burritos anymore. And then the next week, there's more food poisoning, right? So that's horrible, obviously, but Samsung's got a lot of problems, and they got a lot of problems that aren't related to marketing. Like I said, great example of everything counts on this show is the fact that, why would marketing ever ask the question, hey, by the way, are we completely sure the battery is not going to explode, on this? And do we have a strategy for communicating about it? Should it explode? That sort of thing. You got to put them in the losing category. They're having a lot of problems. The brand is, nobody's excited about buying anything with Samsung on it right now because of the, obviously, they're having some quality issues with a lot of different products, unfortunately. So yikes, I would say to that. Winning this week is one of my clients, BandLab. BandLab took a 49% stake in Rolling Stone magazine. So BandLab is it's basically a cloud-based digital audio workstation that works on all different kinds of mobile devices, iOS, Android, web. I've talked about it on the show a couple times here before. But surprise, surprise, BandLab has taken this 49% stake in Rolling Stone magazine, tried to extend the brand, and of course it's made a lot of news and kept us all very busy on the BandLab side of things this week. It's definitely very interesting, and BandLab's definitely got a very cool vision for what they want to do in the music space with regarding to making acquisitions like this. Actually, it's the third such acquisition the company's made this year. They bought another app called Composer. They acquired Mono Creations, which makes cases for gigging musicians, and now, of course, Rolling Stone magazine, or 49% of Rolling Stone magazine. So, anyway, lots more to come there. It should be very interesting. Also winning, Elon Musk. Man, Elon Musk had a press conference this week, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the news or everything, but if you didn't see Elon Musk's press conference, you owe it to yourself to check it out, because this man is going to colonize Mars, and he's very serious. He is deadly serious about his plans to colonize Mars, and he has not like a drawing of Mars and like he has extremely well thought out, detailed strategic plans, timelines, budgets, things like that for his colonization plan of Mars. And then if that didn't blow your mind enough, by the way, like colonizing Mars isn't like a big enough news announcement, here's one thing he said in the press conference. He said, and we're not going to stop at Mars. He says SpaceX is going to colonize other worlds besides Mars. So that's a press release. I'm going to say, from a PR perspective, that's a big deal right there. And I like Elon Musk. I like his guts. Lots of people came out afterwards and said he was completely insane for announcing his plans to do this. But, hey, one person's insanity is another person's strategic plan to warm up the atmosphere of Mars. You know what I'm saying? And it's really interesting. That's one of the points, by the way, he makes in the press conference that you just have to check out. He makes this the point and says, so Mars is 70 degrees during the day and negative 100 degrees at night, right? It has a temperature swing like that, right? So what he'll have to do, or what SpaceX will have to do, is find a way to, and wait for it, warm up the atmosphere of Mars so that humans can stand it, because negative 100, that's really, really cold. So that's impressive. Not just your average person sits around and goes, you know what, how are we going to warm up the atmosphere of an entire world? That's a big deal. So anyway, I encourage you to see that press conference. As PR press conferences go, you just have to see it to believe it. It's like you're watching a movie or something. But it was real, and like I said, this guy is probably going to do it. He says he can get the cost of moving yourself and all of your belongings to Mars down to $100,000 per person. But the return trip, he said, is more dangerous than the trip going there, apparently, for human beings, so that most people are going to be like encouraged to stay. And while I thought it was like, I thought it was at least like 4 to 5 years in space to get to Mars, right? He says he believes he can get it down to 30 days. 30 days in space to get to Mars. Impressive. Like I said, nothing but impressive, and got to put him in the winning category, because that is historic and very cool. Let's talk about who's losing. Possibly humanity, given the fact that some of our biggest technology companies have come together to create a historic partnership on artificial intelligence. Facebook, Amazon, Google, IBM, and Microsoft have come together. The world's largest technology companies have come together to work together to build a better engine for artificial intelligence. There is no part of this that is good news, by the way. Think about all the data that's held by these companies. And now you're going to put them in an artificial learning environment with a computer system that can start to approximate the human thought process. And they're going to have every ounce of data and every behavior from all of the citizens of the world. So, what I said on Facebook was, at least we know what day to come back in the time machine and which people to take out now. Because there's no way that this is going to end positively for humanity. Anybody that thinks so, by the way, just has not watched enough of the Terminator movies. You need to keep watching those and see how that works out.
And didn't Elon Musk come out and speak out against the artificial intelligence, where he doesn't think it's a good idea? Maybe that's why he's trying to run away from Mars. It all makes sense now.
It all comes together. The partnership. He's like, you know what? You guys can have this planet.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Me and Matt Damon, we're going up to Mars. That's what
I'm going to send a bunch of exploding Samsung washing machines to Mars to warm up the atmosphere.
I love it. I love it. Well, maybe see, it all comes together on this show. That's what I'm talking about. Well, let's talk about anyway, keep watching that partnership on AI, and if any of us have to come back in that time machine later, again, that happened this week. That was on Tuesday. So we want to come back to Tuesday and stop that from happening. That's what we want to do later. Let's talk about the debate this week. And I'm not going to get into politics because that's kind of boring and lots of other people do it loudly. But I am going to talk about the PR around the debate. So Hofstra University hosted a debate between Trump and Clinton this week. And they managed – so you're hosting an event. The press are there because, it's an event. It's a big event. And they charged the press $200 each for network connectivity during the debate. So let's just have a little private conversation now for everybody who's listening, possibly from Hofstra. That's stupid, wicked stupid. Public relations, the profession of public relations was designed and created from its inception to make the lives of journalists much easier, right? My own tagline, may the best brand win. One thing, the ways I explain that is, we make things easy for journalists, so our clients win. We give them artwork and the stories and easy access to interviews. It's a hard job being a journalist. If you can make it easy for them, you have a better chance of earning your way, into the press. So you don't charge the press $200 for network connectivity during the debate. And they said, that's policy of the school. Change the policy of the school for this night. I'm certain that a good deal of the policies of the school were changed to accommodate the candidates. Keep right on changing them. Keep right on changing them. And the one that says we're going to charge people $200 for connectivity, don't do that. And anybody that insists they need to do that, the public relations team needs to, take them on a long ride and make sure they don't come back. It's really, really important that you don't do stuff like that during your events. Think it through. Make it easy. Make it easy. Once you've made it as easy as you can possibly make it easier after that. Make it as easy and as free as you possibly can. Journalists have a very hard job to do. They don't need your $200 charges, and they don't need other things. And what are they going to do? What are the journalists going to do when you charge them $200? How many stories about the $200 Wi-Fi? How many tweets? How many did you see? Bunch, right? They're pissed. Don't tick off people who buy ink by the truckload. Seriously. Losing. Get control of your policies or whatever that was. Let's talk about who's winning. Snapchat is which I've talked about a lot on this show, by the way. Big fan of Snapchat. I think it's really interesting. It's now boasts 60 million users in the U.S. and Canada. And they're going to rebrand to just Snap Inc. Shorter, I don't know. That's the plan. And they basically came out with this idea of doing these Snap glasses or goggles, which will help you kind of interact in the Snap world, with these glasses. So it's really kind of interesting how they're evolving their brand, simplifying the brand and becoming Snap, and how they've got these glasses that are coming out soon and that sort of thing. Really interesting. Man, let's talk about who's losing. You know what? One thing that's losing out there is reading, and we talk about a lot on this show. But some people always hold up and say, "Oh, well, sure, people aren't reading paper anymore, but they're really reading ebooks." Would you like me to prove that wrong? The New York Times this week released a study that says that while sales of paperback books are up, independent bookstores are thriving again. The threat of the digital apocalypse has subsided, and ebook sales are tumbling, right? Ebook sales are now tumbling, but one of the highest growth area, like all these other things are up just a little bit, audiobooks. We are becoming a society that really, really likes to listen. Really, really likes. Audiobooks turn more readers into listeners as the ebooks slip. Although they do say paperback books sales are a little bit up or whatever, or that kind of thing. But just from your kind of milestone of communications standpoint, you can kind of see the evolution of people in terms of the written word, can't you? You can see that it is not going to be there always not in the same levels that it was in society. So Gene Simmons always likes to say, print is dead. It's not totally dead, but there certainly has to be a strategy that goes along with it. There's still a magazine business. There's still a book business. There's still all these kind of things. But you really want to pay attention to this New York Times story about audiobooks and how that is really growing. And why does that apply to you? You might want to say. Because, if people like to listen to things, then obviously things like, radio shows, podcasts, things like that might work a little better than white papers and infographics and all these kind of things. Now, you can make an argument and say, okay, well, society's the dumbing down of society, and now all we're doing is watching mindless videos and listening to audio feeds. Sure, I could see it, but there is no evidence that proves that reading something out of a book or listening to it in an ebook it takes any greater or lesser degree of intelligence. It's really what you do with the information, more than anything there. So I would put reading on kind of the losing track this week at least. Let's talk about one more losing thing that's going on out there. This Yahoo hack that happened that we talked about last week. Basically, they said it's going to cause ripples for years. Security experts are calling the account breach massive from out of the country, as you might imagine, as well. 500 accounts hacked. And then, it's really, really interesting, the fact that this Yahoo hack, which I am kind of dismissed and said, well, Yahoo's sort of irrelevant, and so who really cares? But you got to wonder what the motives are to hack Yahoo and what data that they might possess, out there. I think it's really, really, really interesting. I think we put that this week in the losing category for Yahoo because obviously people were kind of questioning its validity as well, for years. But certainly they will do so. They would do so now, and especially looking at its security. Well, that's who's winning and losing this week on May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio. Come on back, and I'm going to talk to you about some areas that you need to check, making sure we know how everything counts in branding. See you in a few.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant Promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah!
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey. Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on InterTalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm Scott. We just finished talking about who's winning and losing. With me on the air is Paul B. What of those stories appealed to you this week, Paul? What'd you like?
They're all kind of scary.
I know, right?
It's all pretty terrifying any way you cut it.
Yeah, that'll be it's like they're like, is that Scott's Halloween show? It's like, no, that was just this week.
Yeah. creepy stuff.
Oh man, a lot of fun. I tell you what, you should definitely check out the feed and the information from Elon Musk's press conference. It was really cool. What a cool project to be able to work on. Just super cool. I really enjoyed and read all the coverage and all the stuff that came out of that. That was awesome. So we have been talking about how everything counts in branding and how hard branding is because of it. We've talked about how, it's not just the logo, it's not just the tagline. It's not just the fact that the CEO got drunk and passed out, and on the podium at a speaking opportunity. It's not the fact that the CEO admitted that he believes in aliens in a Wall Street Journal interview. It's all of that. It's absolutely every single bit of it. It's all of the behavior. It's all of the touch points. It's the logo. It's your advertising campaign. It's the lawsuit that you have going on with disgruntled employees. It's all of that. And if you say, well, Scott, that's a really big job. Yeah, it is. It's a huge job, actually. And that's what we're going to talk about in this last segment, which are some of the areas to check if you hold the responsibility in your job title, your job description says that you're responsible for branding, then you are also kind of responsible for, at least should have a finger on the pulse thereof, some of these other things that we're going to talk about. And it doesn't always occur to people to do this, and I get that. But actually, it only takes one misstep in some of these areas for you to learn that lesson. So why learn it that way? I say, let's get proactive about this whole thing. That's what this whole show is about, trying to do things a little bit better. So the first area that we want to check now that we have adopted our everything counts branding philosophy, customer service. Customer service. And this really delves into social media because when people have a negative experience, not only did we learn from last week's show or a couple of weeks ago that people are 82% less likely to do business with you ever again, where are they going to post their negative customer service experience? Where would you imagine that's going to show up probably first? Twitter? Yeah, definitely. Is it going to show up on YouTube? Maybe. Could. Certainly could. Facebook? Without a doubt. It's going to be there. Absolutely. And then what needs to be there also when that happens? Because now we're in the realm of communications. We were in the realm of customer service, but somebody got ticked off and they took it into communications, and now you have kind of a mini crisis or a major crisis, or I don't know. You get the phone call. We've all had the phone call, right? So what also needs to be there? Your response. Your response to that person should be there, especially if it's on Twitter, by the way. Open garden, right? Open garden so everybody can see things, hashtag things, that kind of thing. If you have someone that tweets a negative customer experience about you, right, about your company, about your brand, then you need to have a response back to that person. It needs to be polite. It needs to reflect your brand. And then you need to urge them to, get in touch with you and kind of take it offline. And then there's one final step that is critically important and missed by a lot of people. Once you've resolved it, once you've, taken care of their issue and you've given them a credit towards what have you, or you've sent them a free T-shirt, and they're happy again, what do you want to do last? Close the loop on social media. Remember, you can't just have a let's take this offline kind of thing and then it ends, because then their friends are going to go, how'd that whole thing turn out? And, then that person has an opportunity to sort of editorialize. No. What you want to do is you want to go back in there and go, Hey, I'm so glad we had the opportunity to discuss this on social media. Glad that you're happy now, that kind of thing. You want the company stating at the end of that interaction that you're super happy that they're happy, right? If you can't make them happy, well, that's a customer service issue, right? Why is it a branding issue? Why is it branding? Because everybody in their feed just got a sponsored post by them that you suck, right? And so now you got a problem, and you've got to solve your problem. It's very, very important. And, whatever level of crisis you may consider that to be, you need to be in there and dealing with it. And I've had people that say, oh, well, customer service, that's not really marketing. That's not really branding. Really? Do you think so? In 2016? Do you think that doesn't affect the brand? I mean, that is such an unintelligent statement. I don't even know where to begin with that. I can prove to you 1,000 different ways why customer service is. We can walk down 1,000 different brand feeds, and I can show you why it's a branding issue. Don't do that. You don't need that, right? We've all seen Twitter. We all know how it works, right? So just do that. Make sure that you're focused on that customer service piece. Sometimes I know in organizations, everybody has their territory. Everybody has their little fiefdom, right? And they say, oh, I don't want marketing anywhere near customer service. That's not there. I've been doing customer service for 26 years. I got the red ribbon of customer service approval and accreditation from the blah, blah society and whatever else. Whatever. You're on the same team. You're a wide receiver, and I'm the quarterback, or I'm the running back, or I'm whatever motif works for you. We're on the same team. Nobody gets into the end zone unless we all understand the play and we're running it the same way. Okay? You may be the world's greatest Pro Bowl wide receiver in the world. If the quarterback gets sacked, guess what? You're going to have the lowest yardage percentage in the history of the National Football League. It is a team. It is a team. And everybody is on the brand team with you. Very important to understand that. I understand that people are people, and they're gonna, everybody's gonna do what they're gonna do inside a company. But at least from a branding side of things, you need to reach out that olive branch, and you need to make sure, because they want that, they get rated by why customer service is, a great part of the company. Right? So it's then their best interest is in your best interest, plus you all get a paycheck from the same bank account, and it doesn't serve anybody any good when the bank account gets transferred over to a law firm to help bail you guys out because something didn't work right and the company went out of business or the investors bailed out, or all these different kinds of things go on. So be a team out there. Really, really important, especially with customer service. And don't let those little internal, remember I said internally we can make things a lot more complex than they are to the consumer. Make sure everybody's looking at the consumer. Everybody's looking at the consumer and going, to them, we're just this. We're just this thing. They don't have any ability to understand the differences in our varying abilities and our varying departments and all that fun stuff. The number 2 area that you want to check if you're responsible for the brand and the person and the people you want to bring in a lot, sales. Absolutely sales. They're out there, first of all, great data point. They're talking to the customers. They're talking to the customers. They're on the front lines, just like customer service, but they're on the front lines with prospects. They're hearing some things that customer service maybe isn't hearing. It's really, really important to help each other. I always kind of describe the relationship between sales and marketing like this. I think that marketing, most business terms, by the way, come from war terminology, so this will be useful. In war, if you want to take a beach, right, you don't send your ground troops in there first, especially if the enemy's fortified on the beach, because if you do, we've all seen Saving Private Ryan, first scene, right? Not pleasant, right? So what you want to do instead is you shell the beach from a long way away. All right, militarily, you shell the beach, or you send bombers over the beach. You soften the beach with a bunch of bombs and stuff before you send your ground troops in. That whole softening of the beach thing. Marketing shells the beach. Sales goes in and goes hand to hand with people, right? And you need both. You need both. It's critically important that you have both. Depending on your organization, et cetera, et cetera. But from a branding perspective, we absolutely need to bring sales in. We need to bring them along. I've had people in branding say, well, we don't really get along with sales, and we don't, and all they do is they just sell and stuff, and we do all the big thinking and the big branding stuff. It's like that's a poor attitude. That is a poor attitude that doesn't help the company. Don't do that. I don't care if they did spill a cocktail on your wife at the holiday party. You know what? They were drunk. It happens. Get over it. Bigger things that we need to figure out are the fact that you need sales. You need the data that they have. You need to be working together with sales on that. They need to understand everything that you're doing from a branding perspective so that they can be that touch point for you, especially for prospects hand to hand. You guys need to be trained the same way, doing the same things. Otherwise, your hand-to-hand people, are losing, and you're shelling the beach, and you also want to time out when you're shelling the beach so that they're not on the beach when you're shelling it. Just keeping that military thing going, I would say it's really, really important. Bring in sales. Swallow your pride. I know, but swallow it. Get them in there. Very important. Number 3, manufacturing. Let's call this the Samsung principle of branding. A lot of people in PR and marketing in Samsung are struggling right now, and a lot of them are going to be out of their jobs pretty soon for something that was not their fault in the least. Manufacturing made some decisions to put a cheaper battery in some products. We don't know what happened with the washing machines, by the way. That's yet to come, but I'm just saying on the phones. The phone was a cheaper battery, right? So it is within your right as a marketing person, as a branding person, to be bringing in the head of manufacturing and going, hey, man, are we good? Is everything safe? Will our product explode? On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that our product is going to explode? Again, the Samsung principle of branding, henceforth and forevermore. Really, really important. And if they give you any territorial guff about it, pull up some news clips of Samsung and go, this right here is a me problem when it reaches this level, right? And it was caused because somebody made a decision to save a few cents on a battery that we imported from China. So let's have a really good, deep, thoughtful conversation about product safety together as it relates to the brand. And let's make sure, darn well sure, that there's no little nasty little secrets that are going to pop up and interrupt me when I'm hanging out on the weekend with my family. That kind of thing, right? Very, very important. I make light of it, but it's very, very important to bring manufacturing in there. They want to be brought into it, by the way, too. Their job isn't necessarily as exciting as marketing and communications. Be friends. Get in there. Talk about it. Make sure you understand about the brand. Hey, our brand is really hinges on the idea about being safe, being safe and stuff. Are we safe? Are we good? Yeah, there you go. Number 4, executive management. Really, really important. And overlooked all the time. Sometimes people will, this is a touch point. Executive management is out there talking to investors, they're talking to competitors, they're going into a trade show. It is not beyond the realm of, your job to sit down with all of executive management and go into a trade show and go, so here's what we're talking about at this show, and here's how we're talking about it. This is not a time for you to get creative in how you talk about it. This is a time for us all to be on what I like to call the same exact page. Really, really important. And you say, oh, well, you can't talk to executive management like that. Be nicer about it than that. I'm being direct. It's a radio show. I'm trying to get done by time. But, be nicer about it. But it's absolutely critically important that executive management is on the same page and that they're all saying it the same way, right? If they don't understand it, if it's too technical, what is your job? Your job is to make sure that they get it enough to where they can get it done, or convince them not to talk about it. One of those two things needs to happen, because you can't have people from executive management clouding the waters. And especially, and I really, should not have to say this, but executive management shouldn't be having any conversations with the press, quote unquote, those off the record conversations over cocktails. You know any problems come from those? I mean, seriously. You want to, nip that in the bud. Make sure everybody understands the threat level of sitting down with the press and the fact that there's no such thing as off the record, and they could say all kinds of wacky stuff that could end up in a story, and then, and especially a surprise package story kind of thing. And you don't want that. Everybody is focused in the same place. We're trying to protect the company's reputation. We're trying to get out the message that we're trying to get out in the least confusing manner possible. And the last place that you want to make sure that you are checking, again, everything counts, is reception. What's that first impression looking like? Is it conveying the brand that we're looking for? And again, people say, oh, that's a human resources decision. Is it? Is it really? Is it a human resources decision? How confident are you in human resources' ability to understand the brand message? Do they get it enough? Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. It's definitely a question to ask, and it's definitely something that you don't want to leave to someone else's responsibility in the company. You need to be in there saying, it's really important to me and my function here, and the things that is really important to us, really, that this reception go like this, that it goes like this. It's really, really important. If they, if human resources is pushing back on you or whatever, get the CEO. Get the CEO and say, this is the brand. This is really important. It's really important to the CEO. If you have to deal with some of that stuff. I mean, that's just reality. We all got to deal with it. Oh, and also, by the way, if your reception area is virtual, the website, for example, make sure that that's conveying the right impression too. It's not just a person, right? It could be, virtually. It could be the building design. It could be a lot of things. It's everything. Today, branding is really, it's all over the place. It's so hard in today's world. If you're taking on the responsibility for it, realize that you are responsible in some way for everything. Sorry. And, that threats to your beautiful work, your beautiful wall of relationships could come from any direction and at any time. Fun, right? The good news is that you have a lot of help around your company, agencies out there, but you have to make sure that everyone's aligned and working together. It is a huge job, a hard job, but it's a job that really needs to be done, and a job that we really need you to do it. Very true. That's it for me, kids. Until next week, this is Scott Robertson signing off for May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. See you next week. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.